Hello, Elizabeth. Dr. E. Carter here, your host of the Elevate Your Value Virtual Summit. Thank you all so much for being part of this summit. I hope you are enjoying it and getting great tips and tools to allow you to elevate to your next, whatever that may be. If you're in corporate, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're in government, or even if you are just working from home. Everyone can be helped in this time. And I've got a great person here to talk to you, Cathy Lanzalaco. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Cathy. She is the CEO of Inspire Careers. Powerful name, powerful name. She specializes in career management strategies for executives and career-minded professionals. Now, that is you. Do not click away from this interview. You want to hear what she has to say. She's the creator of Inspire Career Student Professional Launch Program, the only new college graduate success program in the country. An award-winning resume writer and three-time career changer. Woo! With 18 years of experience in human resources. Cathy provides highlights and strategies that help her clients land jobs and create careers they love in less time than going it alone. Wow, jobs that they love. How many of you love your job? Yeah, probably half of you are thinking, yeah, I might love my job. I may not love my job. So Cathy, thank you so much for joining us here today. First, just give the audience a little brief introduction about yourself.
Well, thank you for having me. First of all, I'm thrilled to be joining all of you today. This is such a great topic. And I appreciate being here because there's nothing more that I like talking about than elevating the value of my clients in the workplace. So as Dr. Elizabeth had mentioned, I am a career coach and a professional resume writer. And my job is to help people translate their value stories to help secure jobs that they love and to advance in their careers, whatever that means to them. So as I work with my clients all day long, what we're really trying to do is pull out their value. My job is to help translate that for them and help them own it. That's always the biggest challenge, is to own it themselves. So I'm sure we'll get into that during our conversation. But what I do is really help people design the career marketing materials to help them communicate their value. You don't have to do a job that you don't love. And I think we've all grown up thinking we have to. We have to be miserable at work. We don't have to be. So I'm hoping that through this conversation, you will come away inspired to be able to go after what you want.
Great. Yes. Thank you so much. And you said, we sometimes think that we have to be in a career that we hate. And that may have been because our parents did it or told us we had to be this particular, person to be successful. So talk to me about a little bit what drew you into wanting to pursue this type of work. How did you figure out that this was the job that you love?
Ooh, thank you for asking that. I love that. Well, I will tell you, as you kindly mentioned in the introduction, I am a three-time career changer myself. My first career, I was a registered nurse, and I was a registered nurse for 15 years, and I loved it. Didn't mean to get out of it, still have a New York State license, but I left the practice years ago. And the reason for that is I was presented with another opportunity to join an HR team, using my nursing to get into HR. And then I worked in HR for 18 years, went back to school, got an MBA, learned the business that I supported, got HR certifications. And I did that for many years, and I loved that as well. And then the business that I supported closed, and I lost my big fat HR job. So for all of you out there that have been let go, that have been downsized, and I know what a hit that feels to your personal value. I have been there. And after that, I felt, you know what, I've been in HR for a very long time. And I took a few HR jobs, short-term HR jobs to pay the bills. But I knew that I could add more value. And as I was helping the people in the business that I supported transition into new jobs when they were closing our business, I said, this is the next step for me. I fell in love with it, helping people find that land on the other side. And I had to do it for myself. So I started helping other people do it. And now I started a business doing it. I bought a business. and then rebranded my business into Inspire Careers. And I've been doing this now for many years.
Wow, that is great. And I loved how you were able to transition from one industry into another. And I know that's very challenging. I have so many people who reach out to me because I've done similar to say, well, how do I do it? I feel stuck. So can you just tell us a little bit about a time in any one of those careers where you really didn't feel valued?
Yeah, I didn't feel valued when I got my walking papers. I'll tell you that. And if if you've been there, and it's no fault of your own, right? So when the business closes and I loved my job, I would have done it forever, would have done it till I retired. I loved it, loved the people I worked for and the people I worked with. So it was wonderful. But I'll tell you, even though it's a business decision and it's not personal, you absolutely feel like that after years and years of service that you're not valued, you're not needed. And yes, it is a business decision. It's not personal, but everything is personal to us when it impacts us, and it's how you support your family. And as a single parent, it was my only source of income. It was devastating. So I recognize that. So that is always something I come back to. And I'll tell you, it's been almost 6 years later. And sometimes I still get triggered with that. And I have to, remember that I have moved on past that. But those are the things that we have to leave behind us throughout our journey.
Yes, thank you for that. And those of us similar have lost our jobs. You're right. You think that it's very personal because the person telling you that you're being let go is probably not only a coworker or your manager, but a friend, a peer, a confidant. So it does feel very personal based on the person giving you that message. Thank you for that. So tell me about a place when you felt valued. So the opposite.
Oh, I feel valued every day now because now I'm on the other side of it, helping people transition into new jobs. So maybe they didn't have a job when they've come to me, right? As a career coach and a professional resume writer, people come to me to help them translate their value stories. They are stuck. They are stuck with either I don't know what to do next, or I know what I want to do next. I know exactly what I want to do, but I'm not sure how to get there. I know that my resume does not really reflect the value that I offer. I need help. So whenever people come to me, I feel immediately valued because they're reaching out and I know that I have the tools, the support, the experience to be able to help them. Just a matter of aligning exactly with what they need. But don't we all, when we feel needed, doesn't that make us feel valued? Being the solution to someone else's problem, whether it's in our personal life or our professional life. So every day as I help people mine their accomplishments and realize the value that they offer, particularly if they feel like they've been beaten up in the workplace. And I don't mean literally, although, I suppose, but I really mean on a day-to-day basis, how you feel like your self-esteem just gets chipped away. But there are also some cases where people work in great workplaces, but they know they've outgrown the work. And sometimes we take ourselves for granted because we do the same work and we do it so well. And we're working right in our zone of genius and we think everybody can do what we do. So sometimes I bring fresh eyes to a situation and to a client and say, did you realize that that's what you're really doing? And they say, no, it was just my job. And I go, we got to talk about that more because not everybody can do what you've done. So in helping others find their value, that makes me feel valued.
Great, thank you. I love the perspective. And one area as you were talking, I thought about the word complacency, because sometimes people do feel very complacent and they have this fear of moving on or fear of stepping out. And then when they have that forced parachute, if you will, where they are falling because they were laid off, they have no idea how to regroup because they were just so comfortable. So when you talk to your clients, what really is the biggest problem? Is it about them being not understanding their value or not being able to articulate their value?
It's a combination of both. People generally don't recognize the value that they bring because either, again, it's been something that's so natural to them, they just think everybody can do it. Or in many cases, we've been so conditioned to play ourselves down, to, to not take credit for what we've done. And there's a difference between being humble and dimming our own light. And we were not put on this earth to walk around with, a big shade over our heads where we're not, we're holding back. And so so many times, and I will tell you, it's very often with women too, is that, we tend to shrink our accomplishments to make sure that we're not upsetting the boat, and that, our partners don't feel threatened if we're making more money or we're doing better. Or, sometimes the way that women respond in the workplace, men oftentimes don't like it, or it feels threatening to people, or we think it's going to be. We're working with very open-minded men, but we don't always understand that. So sometimes we can be our own worst enemy. So it really is about letting people have a safe space to explore their own value relative to what they want in their goals, and then helping them frame it and put words around it, helping them understand that somebody needs what they have to offer. How are we going to showcase that? How are we going to help you get to that next place?
Wow, that is great. Now, do you think with the work from home, work from anywhere, remote environment has caused a bit of a shift in people being, I'd say, a challenge in articulating their value or thinking about what their next would be, or is it still pretty much status quo?
No, I think we're learning that remote work is coming with a whole new set of challenges than was ever anticipated. Can people be productive doing remote work? Absolutely. Does it help restore some of the balance that had been lost during the extra hours that we do commuting and shuffling papers around in the office and standing at the water cooler? Yeah, absolutely. Should there be a broader place for remote work in the workplace in general? Absolutely. However, I think what we're seeing now, the research is showing us, as well as I'm hearing it from my clients, is that it isn't necessarily all it's cracked up to be. And particularly for those environments where you have the hybrid environments, and maybe there are people in the office and you're not. What opportunities are you missing just because you're not in those ad hoc conversations? Those water cooler conversations, sometimes they can be really important. And you have to be able to stay involved, stay connected, and really demonstrate your value, even if the entire team is remote, right? So how do you continue to do that, to be able to interact, so that it's not that the minute the camera's turned off, everybody forgets about you, right? So it really is about continuing to own that value and finding ways to be able to demonstrate it on a continual basis, away from the water cooler and away from the after hours happy hour. How else can you do that? But importantly, how can you be aware of it? I think most of the time people aren't aware that it's happening. It happens so slowly, and you just kind of bleed that influence away. So a lot of it really is just recognition of it.
Yes, thank you. I know I am working from home and I have to be very intentional about meeting people and networking. So if I do go into the office, I do my best to try to schedule meetings with other people who are going to be in the office to get that face to face. Because I agree that does create a challenge, and especially I think in certain a demographic where if we don't feel that we are seen, we are not being heard. So it
Yeah.
really is, how do we elevate remotely now? So yes, absolutely a new set of challenges. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. So if you could provide the audience a couple of quick things that are easy to do to elevate their value as it pertains to their resume.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, it goes back to the number one thing that I see on resumes every day when people send them to me, is they really are just a copy and paste of your job description. I see it every day. It's either a copy and paste of your job description telling me tasks that you've completed, or it's an obituary of everything you've always done. So let's just kind of talk about those two things. So when you construct today's resume, a best practice resume, a resume that's going to have impact and influence, is one that is grounded in accomplishments and value. That's what we're talking about today, right? Is value. And that's when a recruiter and a hiring manager wants to read your resume, tell them how you are the solution to their problems. They don't care about every task you've ever performed. And if you've got a statement on there about performing other tasks as required, oh my, those days are over. Get that off of there. And today's best resumes are personally branded. Tell me what makes you different than anybody else. Why do I need you? In this age of everybody can Indeed, LinkedIn, ZipRecruiter, anywhere. There are hundreds, potentially thousands of people applying for every single job. So tell me why you're different. The average recruiter spends 6 seconds looking at a resume. You can find that all over the internet. And I have talked to recruiters, and many of them will validate that. They don't have time. They're not going to read 2, 3, 4 pages of your stuff. Tell them, quick hits, what I do and how well I do it. And that's really the most important thing. And listen, you don't have to account for your time every minute of your life since high school graduation. Keep it relevant. What have you done over the past 10, 12, or 15 years? And if you've held a job within there that isn't related to your goal, you can take it out. That's not lying. This is just a marketing document, personal career marketing document. So you don't have to say everything you've ever done. Now, that doesn't mean if you've been fired, from a job that you should take it off. It doesn't mean that if you had issues or, this is not what I'm talking about. I'm never talking about lying, but I'm talking about framing it in a way that adds the value and answers the questions that the employer is looking to answer.
That's great. A lot of times people, and I've talked to people similarly about their resume, that they have those gaps where they may have been looking for a job. They may have had a family situation where they had to stop working. How do you coach individuals in that space? That's been another challenge I see for many people I talk to.
Oh, huge challenge. Thank you for bringing that up. And let's talk about COVID, right? I mean, how many people lost their jobs, and it took them a long time to find other work, or other things happened and prolonged the time that they were out of work. But so the best practice for any of those things, whether you did take time off to be with your kids, maybe you had a family situation, took care of a loved one that was ill, you lost your job, for whatever reason, maybe your priorities shifted. So many of them did during COVID, right? And maybe you took time off. So, this is absolutely fine, but employers will ask the question. They will wonder why you weren't working for 6 months, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is. And it doesn't have to be anything bad. But what I would say is, don't make them guess. Don't leave the question hanging in the air for them. Put in there exactly what your issue was in one brief line. So for instance, if you did not work from 2020 to 2022, right, you can just put a line in there that says career sabbatical to support family member, and then just put the dates on there. Something like that. One line. Don't get into it. Don't explain. Don't give all kinds of medical issues and talk about that. But put it in there. Let people know in one line why you weren't working. They will probably ask more questions. But if you don't give them a story, they will make up their own story. And then the story usually is not a good one, right? Wow, at the mayor. Oh, wow, they were lazy. They weren't working for 2 years. No, right? You can be able to just indicate very, very slightly, very succinctly why you were out of work. Maybe just, took personal sabbatical. That covers a lot of different things, meaning it was intentional. That's what I was doing. And intentional can absolutely be that I stepped back from the workplace to take care of my family. That is very acceptable today.
That's great. Thank you so much. That is so helpful, especially, you're right, people lost their jobs during COVID. They may have had to tend to a family member who had COVID. Lots of reasons why people have been out of work. So thank you for that suggestion. Appreciate that. So as we close, Cathy, I would love for people to be able to get in contact with you, love for people to know where to find you. So provide your information to the group.
Yeah. Hey, folks, I'm on LinkedIn every day. Come see me there. I'm always sharing new information and content about job search strategies. So you can find me there at Cathy Lanzalaco. Please connect with me. I'd love to connect with you. Happy to speak with you. So, feel free, mention that you found me here in this summit and in your message to me. That would be great. You can also visit my website, inspirecareers.com, and you can take a look at learning more about the solutions that I provide. And I have a lot of success stories from my clients, both on my website and on my LinkedIn. And I think that's important because as people are thinking about what the next step is for them, know that other people have gone before you. They've had challenging situations. You're not in this alone. And if other people can do it, so can you.
Great. Thank you so much, Cathy. We really appreciate you joining the Elevate Your Value Summit. Lots of great nuggets for all of you to think about. Take a look at your resume. What does it say? Are you just labeling the tasks that you do? That is not your value. Your value is the outcomes you bring to your organization. So Cathy, thank you so much for joining us today. And to the rest of you in the Elevate Your Value audience, please enjoy the rest of this summit as we continue to elevate you and allow you to understand your value so that you can move up to your next. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the summit.